It was damp and chilly weather that greeted the teams here earlier this week in Alabama, but today it is brilliant sunshine and a perfect spring day for racing. Welcome to Barber Motorsports Park. After the lights went down on 24 hours of battle and another Ganassi victory at Daytona, the Rolex Sports Car Series cranked it up a notch for the first ever showdown at the world-class circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. The track delivered non-stop action, a breakout performance, and an incredible finish.
Alex Gurney ends a 2-year drought.
We shift gears to scenic Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama, a relentless road course where last year the action was intense and emotions ran hot.
That is the worst piece of dirty driving I've ever seen. It is such BS, man.
We're in the thick of the action in round 3 from Barber, right now on speed. It has been an intense start to the championship season, and we expect more of the same action today. We are set for round 3 of the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series, and this is the Porsche 250 from Barber Motorsports Park. Good afternoon and welcome everybody. I'm Calvin Fish, filling in for Bob Varsha, who's busy with the Barrett Jackson Auto Auctions down in Palm Beach this weekend. Joining me in the booth today, we have 2 road racing legends, Dorsey Schrader and Tommy Kendall, 2 of the best in the business, certainly great foes back in the Trans Am days. They used to beat up on each other. Today they're going to play nice and be good teammates, so it should be a lot of fun to go along for the ride. Guys, it's been a great start to this championship year. Dorsey, we started off the year with 2 very high-speed circuits at Daytona and in Austin. Today we switch gears. It's high downforce, it's Barber. The Corvettes looked awfully tough in qualifying. What do you expect to see at the drop of the green today?
Well, it wasn't a big surprise to anyone that 4 of the 5 cars in the qualifying were Corvettes. And, of course, one of these teams, I think, has an edge, and that edge is momentum. Talking about Gainesco's Red Dragon. This is a team that went winless last year, but they come out of the last round at Circuit of the Americas with the first win of the season. And, of course, John Fogerty's on fire. 2 pole positions now in a row. It's going to make that team tough to beat here.
Tommy, it was a great event in Coda. Certainly it seemed like everybody was passing anywhere and everywhere. Now we switch it up a little bit. Tight confines here at Barber. How did the drivers deal with that and get through the race today?
Well, Texas is wide open, Coda is wide open, and we still saw a lot of ruffled feathers. We know when the Cup cars go to Martinsville, there's some tempers and so forth, and if past years here are any indication, the drivers are really going to have to check themselves. There's a new sheriff in town that's calling it really tight, and so that's going to be a key to this race, is how guys adjust to those new realities in the confines of Barber.
Well, it's certainly going to be intense out there today. Now, joining us on pit lane today, we have 2 of the best in the business, Greg Creamer and Chris Neville. But before we get to that, let's get to our Daytona prototype storylines for the day. After an outstanding stint by Memo Rojas at Circuit of the Americas, Scott Pruett is looking to lead the defending series champs to victory lane for the 2nd straight race. Then contact with Max Angelelli in the curbing forced them to settle for a podium despite an inspired late race drive.
Jordan Taylor was mighty for Wayne Taylor Racing, showing no brotherly love for Ricky as he battled his way through the field. Max Angelelli took over and was leading when the caution flew. This was bad timing, however, as others pitted behind him, costing him 5 positions. While charging back, he was penalized for contact with the number 6 car of Pisonia, ruining what was potentially a huge points day for that team.
The breakout performance came from young Kiwi Brendan Hartley in the Starworks number 8 car. After starting for the back of the DP grid, Hartley made up 28 positions to take the lead, only to have it go away in the closing minutes when contact with the GT car broke the suspension and ended their hope for victory.
After 15 wins in 5 years, Alex Gurney and John Fogerty had to wait nearly 2 years for number 16. But victory was sweet for the pole-sitting hometown favorites after Gurney took the lead when Hartley went off track. Alex held off a hard-charging Ryan Dial to give the team the win and push them to 2nd in the points.
Well, we saw that great battle between the Taylor boys in Austin, and yesterday, once again, they did not disappoint. For a while, it was Jordan Taylor at the top of the pole, and then his brother Ricky would come back in the 90 car. That same car that got Corvette their first win here last year. But at the end of the day, late in qualifying, it was the 99, the Red Dragon. John Fogerty getting his 2nd pole in a row, his 25th pole position in the Rolex Series, and this team so strong this year. Getting pole positions, they got their first win. They were winless in 2012. Now they've got pole positions. They're trying to start a streak of wins in 2013, and they are definitely championship contenders. Greg?
Thanks, Chris. And you know, there were some dramas in qualifying. John Pugh's regular co-driver in the number 60 Shank Racing, Riley Ford, Osnegri is recovering from some off-season problems with a leg. He has to miss these 2 races. Fortunately, 2008 pole sitter Michael Valiante was available, but Michael ran afoul of some sketchy cold, damp conditions in the lone practice before qualifying and had this off, skated across the grass, and got into the barriers pretty comprehensively. Solid damage to the front of the car. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get it fixed pre-qualifying, and so he is going to be starting at the back. Now, the number 8 Riley from Star Works had a problem as well. Scott Mayer turned the nose of that car into a shovel. It's just a minor normal off, but it's so waterlogged here. It scooped it up, and it compacted dirt in virtually every compartment of that car. They weren't able to get that ready to go for qualifying. They, too, will start at the back. The good news is once they got all that dirt out, there's now a beautiful spectator berm that people can watch from here. A lot of mess. So, from the back, Valiante certainly has the skills to repay the crew for the hard work to get him to the front, and will we see another star-making drive from young Brendan Hartley? Cal?
Thanks, Greg. 2 very fast cars there with work to do. Speed's coverage of the Rolex Sports Car Series is presented on Speed by Rolex. Brought to you in part by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk GT and get ready for the green flag. Welcome back. As you can see, lots of action here at Barber last year, and we expect more of the same today. Now, the cars are out on the first of their 2 pace laps as we take a look at our GT storylines. The Ferraris have shown speed this year, but no wins to this point. At Circuit of the Americas, Alessandro Balzan put the number 63 Scuderia Corsa Ferrari on the pole, but his teammate was penalized for contact with leader Lally late in the race.
Turner Motorsports had everything working with their BMWs in Texas as Bill Oberlin and Paul Dallalana swept the day, winning both the Continental Tire race and the Rolex GT race. Oberlin, on the other hand, might have gotten away with one as he made contact with Lally late in the race.
Lally was upset after finishing second, confronting Oberlin post-race. But he and co-driver John Potter will have to console themselves with a GT points lead.
And the video of that bump that you just saw between Oberlin and Andy Lally, they didn't have during the broadcast. The stewards didn't see it either. It was given to us by the team. So, Andy, after looking at that, you were in the car at the time, but after looking at that, do you think that Bill got away with one there?
Yeah, he certainly got away with one. But, you know, what goes around comes around here. You know, we've got a lot of races left in this series. They're strong competitors, and, yeah, we think it was a little bit over the line. But we're just going to race them hard. We got a new sponsor on board with us here, or signing up for the rest of the season. Flexbox is on board with us, and we'll see. It's going to be hotter than we based all weekend long. So these Continental tires have been great, and we'll just see if they can hold on for a real long stint here. Maybe we go up and race with those guys at the end and get some redemption for last week.
All right, and as if we scripted it, the 94 Turner BMW and that 63 Ferrari right next to him on the grid, frying pan into the fire to get to the front here at Barber. Chris?
Yeah, Greg, it got pretty rough back at Austin, so it's going to be important to start up front today. And that 73 Park Place Porsche, they were the quickest Porsche out here. Patrick Long, Patrick Lindsay trying to get Porsche their first GT win at the Porsche 250, but it was a GM front row. On outside, Boris said that team has been very quick all year, trying to convert that speed into a win. Back at Austin, that team ran up front. They led for, but it was a suspension problem that ultimately took them out of that weekend. That team looking for their first top 10 result of the year. And on pole, John Edwards in that very first year, Stevenson Camaro. That team also quick all year. However, they had to start Austin at the back of the pack because of an engine change coming through the pack. Contact with another car ultimately took them out. That team, too, looking for their first top 10 of the year. Cal?
Thanks, Chris. We'll take this opportunity to give congratulations to our pole sitters for today's race. John Fogarty takes his career pole, number 25. In GT, it was John Edwards, and in the GX class, it was Tom Long in the Mazda. Dorsey, always great to be back at George Barber's Masterpiece. Show us where it is located via Google Earth.
Of course, we're in the great state of Alabama in Birmingham, if you will. There's Talladega off to the side, drop down into this racetrack. It's 2.38 miles around here, some 15 turns. Very busy, 30 shifts per lap, and it's very narrow.
Guys, take us through the keys to the race. TK, lead us away.
Well, as you said, this is the first high downforce race, so the teams that are able to pile the most downforce on and get their car balanced will be key.
Surface of the racetrack has been diamond ground. They've taken the top layer off. That's added a lot of speed. New track records, but there's a lot of unknowns with this surface.
And the final key being contact, or more importantly, avoiding contact, both when you're overtaking or being overtaken. Easier said than done. Key to watch.
Lots to look for. Well, our Rolex starting grid will roll through the hat at the top of the screen. Let's go on and have a look at our onboards for the day. In the number 3 of Enzo Podalicchio will be starting today. Gustavo Yackerman in the number 6. Ricky Taylor on the front row, again for Spirit of Daytona. The 59 car of Andrew Davis. Defending series champ Emil Asentado in the 69. And Tom Long in the 70 Mazda GX machine.
Well, you know, you heard Andy Lally say it. This is the warmest conditions these guys will have run under. It's been raining most of the week. It's been very, very cold, and they haven't had any time to adjust. So, I mean, this will be the first time around to see what the car does.
Very little dry running and very little long stints. You know, they're seeing less drop off on the long stints from this new generation tire. So, but they haven't run a full fuel load. So they're going to be monitoring and adjusting on the fly.
There's a lot of unknowns right now. This racetrack was typically hard on tires, but that's because the cars were sliding around. Now we've got grip with this diamond cut to the surface. Guys are expecting the cars to stay underneath them or the tires not to degrade quite as quickly. And also, Tommy, we've got a 2-hour race today, different strategy.
Yeah, so nobody can go do it on one stop, or at least we think. Yeah, there's going to be a solid 2-stop, but there's all kinds of different permutations that could unfold as with every race.
Here we're on board with our Porsche pace car, 2013 911 Carrera S. Tommy was looking at it eagerly before the start. He wants one.
We might just, if we were the pace car driver, might want to stay out. Have a run at it.
Here we go. Corvettes at the front. 1, 2, 3. Rojas on the second row. What can he do? The Polmeister, his 25th career pole, leads the field down through the final turn.
There's an acceleration zone up here. They can't go before they get to it. Stacking up.
They go. We're green for round 3 of the Rolex Sports Car Series, and it's Fogarty to the front immediately.
Taylor brothers make it clean through turn 1. 3 wide at the back.
Brian Frizzell there looked like he got hung out to dry a little bit in the second of the Action Express cars. Here's the GT start. Edwards from the pole. It's an all GM front row. The Ferrari looking for a way through. That's Westphal.
The other Ferrari behind it, however, really got held up in traffic. It's now on the outside. Oh, and a spin of the DP car right in the middle of the track.
That's Podalicchio.
Looks like he's lost the rear body work as well.
Continental tires not up to pressure or temperature right now, guys. It is hairy stuff right now.
That'd be a scary ride, just sitting there sideways to the whole field.
Got it on both ends, front and back.
Coming off a great run at Circuit of the Americas where Stefan Sarrazin and Enzo had a 4th place finish. There we see the debris. That's going to be an issue for the rest of the guys.
I thought he lost rear body work, but he didn't. He just messed it up a little bit.
What a battle we saw between the 2 Taylor brothers at Circuit of the Americas right now. Their line is stern. We're on board with Enzo.
Oh, contact for sure. That was a good one.
One of the Action Express cars.
I think that might have been Brian. He is a bit further back in the pack. Let's take a look.
See it this time. Nope, already had happened. Boy, that's a scary place to be.
Yeah, fortunately, he wasn't trying to get going again because that GT field was right on him. It's about a 10-15 second spread they try to have between the 2 classes, but Fogarty looks comfortable out front.
We saw it shedding a little bit of its bodywork, but with the car spread out, they might have been able to send a corner worker out and grab it without going yellow, coming up on this next section into the hairpin.
There's been a lot of changes in the offseason. I mean, last year this Corvette came out, got its first win here with Westbrook and Garcia for the Spirit of Daytona team, but it seemed like it really had great high downforce configuration. They've done some changes, given the Rileys a bit more downforce. The guys are happier, but right now we see Corvettes 1, 2, 3.
Saw that piece of bodywork laying there. It's kind of off. There's some running through some debris right here. And that's all carbon fiber. And that's just like razor blades out there when you hit it. It can cut a tire down.
Chris, what are you hearing on the 3?
Well, listening to Gary Neal talk to Enzo on the radio, Enzo was telling him that it was the Action Express car that got into the left rear of him. But Gary Neal, the crew chief on that car, saying all the telemetry looks good. The tire pressure in that left rear is fine. So telling Enzo at this point in time, stay out on the racetrack.
Okay, well, they're obviously going to try and stretch that car, get it to the first stop without having to take an unscheduled pit stop here. But Fogarty yesterday in qualifying, what a lap he laid down. Looked like it's going to be the Taylor boys on the front row. John just dug deep, and as he always seems to do, he pulled one out of the bag.
Well, he is the pole man, no doubt. I mean, 25 poles now. That's a record for this series. Fun to watch when he puts his head down. Boy, he can get that thing going fast.
2 or 3 tenths faster than the other Corvettes. Then we see Memo Rojas. He did a brilliant job at Circuit of the Americas, Dorsey. A great opening stint. Then we see a Pruitt who got really aggressive with Max Angelelli. He had that massive bounce over the curb there, damaging the front of the car. But they still rebounded. Even on a bad day, Ganassi gets points.
That's been the key to their successes over the years, that even on a bad day, they pull the cat out of the bag, you know, and somehow get redemption.
And you can see why he was disappointed. He'd run a double stint, which is unusual. They're resting Pruitt for the end. A hot day as we check in on the GT lead, and that's Boris said out in front of the 63 all the way already up into second place.
Yeah, it's a great battle here. Jeff Westphal, who's now going to run full time with this Scuderia Corsa team. Here's our GT leader. This is John Edwards. What a great pole position he put together yesterday. Just 600ths of a second quicker than Boris said, but it's enough to give him that track position, and you can see what that does immediately at the start of these races.
He pulled that one too on the very last lap. Boris thought he had it, went back out for another lap and got loose in one corner. But when they got done with all that, Boris jumped out of his car, went over and congratulated Johnny. He said that was fun, you know. Good show.
Everyone expected the Ferraris to be on the front row. Max Pappas had a bit of an off on his opening lap, damaged the front end of that Ferrari, and the rules are you cannot make any changes to the car or repair the car, so we had to just struggle through qualifying 7th. But you would think on this type of racetrack, what we've seen from that Ferrari chassis, Dorsey, over the last couple of years, it would be strong here.
Yeah, I mean, when he brought it in the pits, they brushed out the radiator. They're allowed to do that, take the debris out of the radiator, but they can't fix the under tray, which was pretty messed up. So it took the speed out of the car. Doesn't mean they can't win the race now, though, because that car, I think, as we go forward in the race and you start to see tire degradation, I think the Ferrari has always shown to be a really neutral, balanced car.
See Paul Dalla Lana there in the Turner Motorsports BMW. What a weekend they had at Circuit of the Americas. The double win. They'd done it before back at Homestead in 2011, but I think they came into that event really not sure how they were going to run. They had tested there, but boy, oh boy, they had a great run there, winning both events. We know that Oberlin had to rough up Andy Lally a little bit to get victory lane for the second time, but they got the job done, and renewed enthusiasm in that camp now.
You know, and you heard Andy talking about a little bit of retribution, but that's not the kind of driver Andy is. He'd rather just beat you outright. You know, and I think that's what his game plan will be.
A little bit of a lock up there for Dalla Lana as he negotiates some of these tight, twisty turns. Well, action continues here at Barber Motorsports Park. We're going to take this opportunity to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Well, John Fogarty continues to lead, but we're seeing an early pit stop. Looks like Brendan Hartley is jumping behind the wheel of the 8 machine.
That's correct, Calvin. Brendan Hartley, unscheduled stop here. Mainly this is because Scott Mayer injured himself in practice yesterday. Brendan Hartley ran from the back of the pack at Circuit of the Americas. He's going to try that once again today. But it was Scott Mayer yesterday in practice who took this car off the racetrack. And because it was so wet and soggy here, as soon as he went through the grass, this car literally stopped. It was going about 60 miles an hour, and it stopped in an instant because the front end dug in. His helmet hit the steering wheel. His hands hit the dashboard. And his hands today were very bruised and cut up. I asked him earlier if he could grab the wheel, and he said, when I'm sitting in pit lane, I can definitely grab the wheel, but I haven't been on the racetrack yet, so the feedback that I'm going to get through the steering wheel is really going to hurt. That's exactly why they did that driver change.
Well, it's a good call by Peter Barron and the teams, and I tell you what, we saw it here last year with John Pugh, Dorsey. Remember up in turn 8, he suddenly come to that abrupt halt, and it just really jams your body against the seat belts, and as Chris mentioned, the helmet even hit the steering wheel in this incident with Scott.
I mean, 60 to 0 in not even the length of a car. That's what I'd call a sudden stop.
Yeah, there's no give. Even a guardrail gives a little bit, and obviously now with safer barriers and so forth. But what that's going to do, obviously, he doesn't. You know, he started the race hoping he could go, but he doesn't get enough driver time, so he will not earn points unless he gets back in the car, which I don't see happening. So, but he clearly couldn't go. So now Hartley's in for the.
Well, you know, these curbs here, you run up on these curbs, as you see Boris said right there doing, and the kickback through the wheel. You know, you got to hold that wheel really tightly, and with those hands, you saw how swollen they were. I can imagine that's not feeling too well.
I suspect it's equal parts not feeling well, and equal parts being rattled. You know, that's no one likes to damage a car, and you know, and so hopping back in, he's not 100% physically, and just probably not feeling so confident about getting out there and wheeling.
I really hate wrecking a car when you don't hit anything. You know.
There's a number of other ways to do it. We're looking at a great battle here in the GT ranks. John Edwards continues to lead. There's like an ebb and flow between this margin between he and the second place runner Boris said right now. That Camaro's running a little bit lower ride height this year. They said they really had to work with the suspension setup to still be able to run the curbs that you need to do here at Barber Motorsports Park.
One thing that was affecting him also as we look at the battle between the BMW and the Ferrari was that the last DP car was in between, and so now that car's out of the way, he's kind of gotten going and has passed the leader.
Paul Dallalana having another solid run here today, and he scored that great victory at Coda. Greg Creamer's with his teammate.
Yeah, Bill Aberlin, you guys had that wonderful double at Circuit of the Americas, and you had that end of the race contract, Mr. Lally, and now you guys for a while there, Paul in the number 44 Magnus car running absolutely nose to tail. Barber, this has got to be a fun one.
Well, it's totally different. I mean, this is a tribute and a testament to how good those Turner guys can be. I mean, to win both races at Coda, amazing. We're here now. Look at Paul is ahead of Max Pappas. I mean, that gives you an idea. Paul's doing a great job. They prepared us a great car. He has a slight paddle shifting issue going on now, where the engineers are trying to dial it out right now with some electronics. And we'll get him through his stint. I'll get in, and we'll see how fast we can be. Just want to say hello to everybody at home. Go to TurnerMotorsports.com. Buy some parts. We'll keep this sucker going.
Gotta love Billy Oberlin's enthusiasm. I liked it when he raced for that Ruby Tuesday group. He was talking about burgers and crab cakes every week. But Paul Dallalana's a busy boy. He's going to do the next round of the world, or the first round of the World Endurance Championship, just next weekend in Silverstone. He's also going to compete at Le Mans with Aston Martin. We saw him at Sebring, Tommy. You raced against him there.
Yeah, and when I was going to talk to him, here we see the 8 car in again.
Reset fuel, reset fuel.
Here, and it may be a problem on the left rear.
That's a problem you don't need right now.
Shades of Coda in another way. This car, Hartley came from dead last. Now he's going to be a lap down, but if you get a yellow and he can get waved around.
Yeah, they gambled on fuel strategy there. They got those extra yellows they needed, and they were going to be good to go. So that was a legitimate lead that he had. If he hadn't had the bump with the traffic, he would have got to victory lane, we believe.
Well, Ryan Dial was relaying an altercation that took place. Oh, here, this battle is heating up. Dallalana gets in deep. Pappas applying as much pressure as he can.
You know, when I came down here, I flew in with Will Turner, the owner of this team. And you know, we're talking about ride height adjustments. Well, they allowed the BMW to lower the rear end. That helps it in handling, but it also did something they weren't aware of. It took away the air underneath the car that cools the brakes. And you see them locking brakes up right now. One of the things that happened was that the rear brakes began to get hot. They never did before, as well as the axles and the wheel bearings. So, I mean, one side of the thing, it helps. The other side, it hurts. And Paul's going to have to really quit getting on the brakes so hard, because that's been like 3 times now. He's locked that front corner, and he's going to get a flat spot.
Well, you have to wonder if he does have a flat spot. That's why he's repeatedly locking it up.
Well, that's what it'll do. I mean, once you get that flat spot and you brake hard, it gets to where it's flat at, and it just locks it right there, scrubs off more rubber, and sooner or later you'll be through the carcass and blow the tire.
Look at Fogarty's lead, guys. He's up to nearly 4 seconds right now. He is slicing his way through traffic. And these guys, you talking about momentum, Dorsey, they've got it right now. They've got speed, and they've got the confidence back.
They were so down last year, not a single win. And, you know, it wasn't all their fault. They had some situations where things just, you know how it goes, Tommy, things that just don't go your way, that you can't control it. But it's really hard not to get your mental attitude down when those things are fighting you.
And it's that huge intangible. Momentum, when it's there, you can do nothing wrong. When it's gone, you can't do anything right.
Yep.
So Fogarty's looking very comfortable out front right now as we have 10 laps on the board. We have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back for more Rolex Series action. Don't go anywhere. Fogarty leads in DP, Edwards in GT, and Tom Long in GX. Welcome back to Barber. Our pole sitters continue to lead their respective classes. It's Fogarty in DP, Edwards in GT, and Tom Long in the GX class. There's been a battle here for the third position, and Rojas is on the charge. He's got around Jordan Taylor for that third spot. Let's take a look, guys, and see how this happened. Just a lap ago, here is the replay.
Looks like traffic might have played into this. Yep.
Like Rojas was already by him at that stage, and Jordan was trying to fight back. See another look at it. That is really high speed right there. That is dicey to try and stick your nose in there. And as we know, they've been calling these contact penalties, Tommy, so you have to be careful. Full caution, first one of the day. Michael Marcel assesses the damage on the second of the Turner Motorsports cars. Qualified ninth, a nice qualifying run for M&M. It looks like he's gone off on the wet grass and damage to the front end. He can't see exactly what it is, but he's stranded. They've got to get him back in. I'm sure we'll see some pit stops here. The DPs were saying about 50 to 55 minutes on fuel, so they're going to be a little bit light. Be interesting to see, even though we're only, what, 17 minutes into this race, who takes advantage of this yellow to grab a pit stop. Well, Greg has an update on M&M. What's going on with Michael?
Well, he radioed in and said he just got hit by a DP car. Now, he's not exactly sure which one it was, but apparently the contact was enough and got him in all sorts of trouble out there. And, of course, that's why we're under the full course caution. So it's going to get pretty busy. A lot of teams have got tires and the signs at the wall. I think we're going to have a pretty busy run here.
Talked about the fact that it rained for the last couple of days. If you get off the racetrack for any reason, of course, he was helped off the track, you're not going to get stopped before you hit that guardrail. And particularly where he's at, because that's really high speed on that back straightaway.
And that's frustrating. You have a long time between when you go off and when you actually hit. Yeah. We've all been there, and there's nothing you can do.
They're gathering the field up here, see if they have to do any wave buys. Essentially, anyone who's trapped between their class leader and the pace car will get a wave by. And then when the pit lane does finally open, it'll be DPs only on the first lap. Next lap around, it'll be GT cars.
My buddy Terry Earwood used to say, you know, you're in that situation and you're off in the grass and you're hoping that you don't hit the guardrail. But he said, but hope and hospital are on the same page in the dictionary. Typical Terry.
He is a character. I'll tell you what, Fogarty has been very impressive at the start of this race, Tommy.
He really has. I mean, and it's not just traffic. It's been a consistent margin over similar bodied cars. It's not just the vet. They and it's funny how that works. We talked about the momentum, and confidence is a big part of that. And these guys are the best of the best, but they're also still human. So the results start not coming. You start questioning how you've done it, pressing harder, which sometimes works against. But now they're definitely in a groove.
Well, they went through that drought last year, their first winless season in quite some time. It's been almost 18 months, and they last had a victory middle of 2011. But they've got John Ward, their engineer, now on board full-time. He was doing double duty last year with an ALMS team, so he's there full-time. They've found their groove, and even though there's a number of Corvettes in this field, they are the only guys with the Riley chassis underneath, so there are some subtle differences between the Corvettes out there in the field today. Well, whilst we're under this full caution yellow, we're going to take an opportunity to take a quick break, but we anticipate pit stops right on the backside of this, so don't go anywhere. Action is heating up here in Barber. Back at Barber, pit stops are underway. Some DP cars have pitted already. Now it's the turn of the GT teams. Let's get down to Greg Creamer.
John Edwards has brought the number 57 Stevenson Motorsports Camaro in, doing a routine stop, 4 tires that they're going with. And you may be wondering, it's a little bit early. Well, one of their big concerns here is with the new track service. Very few of these teams have any tire knowledge in terms of wear rates. So I think that's one of the plans here, was to bring these cars in, get new tires on, take a look at the tires that they pull off the car and see where they're going. Oh, huge congestion, but they finally were able to get it done, and Edwards continues on.
Okay, well, there's a little bit of a bobble on the left rear for Edwards there, and then you could see he struggled to get out of his pit box with that Porsche right in front of him, but we saw DP's pit with no tire change. Looked like the GTs are taking a different strategy here, and looks like he lost a lot of track position there.
Yeah, what happened right there is when he got bogged down, it killed the engine, then he loses power steering, so he can't make the cut around the car. He's got to refire the car. It's all time consuming.
31 stayed out, so Boris said goes to the head of the pack there, obviously running a different strategy. Now, whilst we were in break, the DPs were in. And this is the Gainsco squad.
Pop the clutch. You ready to go quick?
Bob Stallings on the radio giving John the information. Just a quick fill here, of course. They haven't burned down to full fuel, though. No tire change.
Nope.
Good clean stop. And look at this. No tires on the 01 or the 10, but the 10 car again beat out the 01. We've been seeing it in the first 2 rounds of this championship. They have got something going on with their refueling. They are masters right now of gaining those vital tenths on pit lane.
And to do it against an outfit like Ganassi, you know, they're claiming we're just getting the probe in quicker. Chances are it's something with the way the fuel is flowing, but they're allowed within certain limits to do that. No, the 90 car stayed out in DP, so Ricky Taylor assumes the lead, much like Boris said did in GT.
Well, another great stop by the Velocity Worldwide team. Let's get down to Chris for more on them.
Yeah, and Wayne Taylor, big smile on his face after beating the 01 car out. And Wayne, you guys are doing this, it seems, week in, week out. How are you guys beating the Ganassi team every time on pit lane?
I'm not sure. The guys are just doing a great job. You know, I mean, they're working really hard this year, and focus is to be absolutely perfect in the pits. And every pit stop so far from the beginning of the year, the guys have pulled it off. Done a good job.
Now, Jordan did lose a spot to Memo Rojas in that first stint there. Is everything good with the 10 car?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think he maybe got bad traffic at one point, but no, the car's good, and we just got in front of him again, so we're okay.
Well, he'd love to see his son up front. Greg?
And you notice that the number 90 Spirit of Daytona Corvette did not pit. I talked to Troy Fliss, and he said, you know, it's really too early for us to be able to still make it with one more stop comfortably. And he said track position here is so important. We thought this was an opportunity for us to get out front and then play the cards from there. That's why they didn't stop.
Well, they've been so tough here at Barber Motorsports Park. Ricky's front row qualifying position here yesterday. 4th year in a row this car sat on the front row. They've had a couple of poles, defending race winners, so they seem to know what makes the car tick around here, and they obviously think the car works best in clean air. That's why they're rolling the dice a little bit right now.
It's a bit of a head scratcher, though, because everybody else seems to think they can make it. Now, whether they need extra caution laps to make it or not, we'll see how it plays out. But I was expecting virtually every car to be in.
The clean air issue is a big one here because all of these corners are pretty high speed. I mean, those high-speed S's and so forth. If you're tucked up underneath someone, you end up having to lift off the throttle sometimes just a little bit, killing your momentum. This car, they're having some trouble getting it up on the flat rig because the front steering apparently has been hurt when it hit that wall. No steering on the front wheels any longer. So they just drug it over there. It's kind of ugly.
Ricky Taylor was very disappointed that he didn't get that pole position lap in yesterday. He was 3/10 up on Fogarty's lap for the pole, and he caught a DP in the last corner on his run and cost him the time. So the speed is certainly there, and he's really anxious to get that first victory for this new team. Been running with his dad for a couple of seasons with great results, he and Max Angelelli, then the big switch in the off season, and I think he's got a great partner and teammate in Westy, Richard Westbrook, this year.
You know, this early caution, if you will, it gives the guys some time now to look at those tires. We were talking about the ground surface of this racetrack, and they haven't run enough on it yet, and particularly in the heat today that we didn't have during the past few days. You know, they can now look and assess the tire wear. And we've heard every kind of no tires strategy. Some guys took 4, some guys took 2, so everybody's looking and trying.
Well, at Circuit of the Americas, boys, there were a number of cars that seemed that they could have got victory that day. We talked about Brendan Hartley driving the number 8. He is a really sensational young driver. He's been a Red Bull protege for a number of years and got a lot of Formula One simulator work and test driving with Formula One teams. We had a chance to catch up with him a little bit earlier this weekend.
I started racing in Europe about 7 years ago, so I went through the ranks of single-seater racing, Formula Renault, Formula 3, World Series, GP2. Then I was the reserve driver, Formula 1 reserve driver for Red Bull for 2 seasons. And then last year I started racing in endurance with the LMP2 car. I did Le Mans 24-hour, and I did my first race in America last year at Petit Le Mans. So American racing's pretty new to me. Yeah, that was an awesome race. I mean, I really loved the whole experience of going to Circuit of Americas. It was a great track. Yeah, I hopped in the car a lap down. My teammate Scott had a bit of a problem with his arm and was suffering a bit. We got the lap back, and I started really charging, and yeah, I got to the front, pretty much had the race in the bag. You know, 4-second lead, thought it was all but over, and I read the situation wrong with a lapped car, a GT car, and I was almost sure he was letting me by, and I couldn't have been more wrong. It was heartbreaking for us. Like, we thought we had, you know, we could have won the race, and from where we started would have been really impressive. But luckily there's 11 races left, so I'll be doing everything I can to do it again.
Well, the kid has certainly shown a lot of speed already this season. We look forward to seeing more from young Brenton Hartley. Great crowd on hand here today at Barber Motorsports Park. The weather has finally played nice with us. We're looking forward to getting back to some green flag action. Stick around. We'll be right back in a moment. We're green here at Barber Motorsports Park as Ricky Taylor leads the field back to racing action. There you see the number 3 car fighting his way back through the pack, and then young Brenton Hartley at the back of the pack at the moment.
3 cars, Stefan Saracen. He was being pretty aggressive on that restart, and the GT cars, of course, got their start, and they're all over the place, scattered around the racetrack, so we'll catch up with them a little bit.
I said that was a head scratcher. Well, smarter guys than me, quite a few cars stayed out. All these cars back to the 99 Gainesville car. These 4 cars all stayed out. And I spent a good bit of time talking to Gary Nelson with the Action Express team. And he always wears long sleeves because he's always got something up one of them. And he said, if we get the traditional, an early yellow and a late yellow, I think I've got something for him. That one apparently was too early for him.
Yeah, certainly. It's everyone's going to play it a little bit differently. I think if you've got bad track position, you roll the dice a little bit. With Ricky Taylor running second, that is certainly a bit of a gamble. But right now, he's got clean air. He should be able to lay down some really good laps. And Fogarty right now has got to fight his way through from that 5th spot. So I think that's the gamble. Maybe with us being out front, hopefully some guys will stay out with us. If everyone had come down pit lane, then they'd have had a problem.
That's the other thing, is the right strategy can change based on how many people adopt each relative to track position.
The clean air we were talking about comes into play too, because now the Gainesville car for the first time has not clean air. He's behind someone the whole time. Can he, have the same speed he showed before?
Well, and if, like Troy Fliss said, going to the end on one more stop is really tight, Fogarty won't be able to use as much fuel to try to get by these guys. So there's a bunch of variables playing out here that we'll try to stay on top of.
Chris, what are you hearing on the 99?
Well, there was definitely a big discussion that went into, do we take tires or not? And John Fogarty, as engineer John Ward, in the end decided not to take tires on that stop, just fuel, because John Fogarty's saying, hey, the tires really feel good. Yes, they've given up some grip since the green, but it's been a good balance, front and back. So the back end of the car not really sliding any more than the front, and then just deciding that, you know what, let's stay on the tires that we have and just try and stretch this thing.
Yeah, this DPI tire, people are really loving it. I mean, it really has longevity, it has speed. Guys are putting a lot of laps on them now and not getting the drop-off that they saw before.
Caught some people out in qualifying because they were used to having to get their quick lap in on lap 2 or 3, but this tire is staying under them so well. As the fuel burns off, the car was getting faster and faster. Fogarty's lap, I think, was on lap 9 of qualifying, and the fact that they decided not to throw new ones on. Now we've got a replay here from some little GX action a little earlier on as well.
Looking up ahead here. Oh, just turn 14 there. Jim Norman, just a lazy spin. Spoke to him last night. We were out to dinner, Chris Neville and I, and Jim said, I'm not really happy with the handling on the car. Haven't had a lot of dry laps, but that was just a lazy one there. But he's the only guy who's undefeated this year, boys. 2 GX wins to his name already this season.
And the car he spun in front of, which was our onboard, was Tom Long in the Mazda 6. So those were 2 GX cars going at it.
See here the 5-car Brian Fazell fighting his way through this GT traffic. But right now, Fogarty hasn't really made up any ground. He hasn't got any positions up. And Jordan Taylor is now getting onto his tail as well. Really ride the curves through that section of the racetrack. And this is one that will really grind that left front. You come down there off camber, it really loads that left front corner.
Yeah, it's much quicker than it looks like on TV. When you go out there and do a lap around here, the momentum here, or the percentage of speed here is pretty high.
60 car hasn't had the smoothest of weekends, Greg. What's happening now?
It hasn't, but they've just played a pretty good strategy card, I think. Obviously, with Oz out for a couple of races and Michael filling in, the focus is for John Pugh in terms of driver's points. They waited till near the end of this yellow to get to the 30-minute mark so he would get his points. They also got some track position. They pitted right after it went green. They now have Valiente in the car, and he's free to charge to the front. So it'll be interesting to see, but they needed to get John Pugh his points. And interestingly, guys, these Rileys, at least for Mike Shank, they said we have never run this high downforce setting on this particular car. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it certainly will. And Michael said after his off yesterday, he says it's been about 9 years since I've damaged a Daytona prototype. So he is pretty frustrated with that. Got caught out in those sketchy conditions. We understand the 60 car was the one that was involved with Michael Marcel in the bump that took Michael off the road. So No harm, no foul there, they're saying right now, and these guys are rolling the dice on strategy. I like it. Mike Shank really tries to dig deep. They've got the 30-minute mark, which is necessary for driver points, so John Pugh will get his points here today.
Little lock up there from the Brumos Porsche as he's under attack from the rear.
And they've switched out drivers. A number of guys. I noticed Arbelin's now in. Mike Skeen is now in that 72 car. And Mike Skeen, I've been a Mike Skeen fan for a long time. You might remember him from the Setup reality show. And the name just starting to get on people's radar screens. And he's got a ride, at least for a couple races, with the Park Place guys, and really showing some speed. I'm a big Mike Skeen fan.
And he's up against Andrew Davis, who's no slouch in that Brumos Porsche.
Yeah,
and
Mike
when you
Skeen,
see him locking those tires up, you know.
he's a real talent. I mean, we saw Leighton Reese in the Banner team a couple of years ago. He's been really a standout in World Challenge Series over the last couple of years. Had a couple of wins last year at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So he really gets the hammer down. Great talent, and I think he's going places.
He's got a couple nicknames. He's got a cult following amongst the E30 BMW guys, and there are a bunch of fans. I'm sure they're watching. They call him the Ginger Stig. He's got a couple of different nicknames. 8-car back in the pits.
Oh, this isn't good.
See what's going on here.
Now they're getting a stop and hold is what's going on from another deal.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be able to do any servicing if you're serving a penalty, so I'm not sure who's up there. He looked under the rear of the car again, so he thought he had a problem with the left rear. That was just rubber buildup. Chris, what are you hearing?
Calvin, Brendan Hartley really struggling to hit that car since he took over, and I think this goes back to the incident that happened on track with Scott Mayer yesterday. That car just not right. He says the car is just incredibly loose when he turns to the right. The team looking around, seeing if anything is still broken on that car. They did add some fuel there, and some crew members looked around, but they didn't take the deck lid off and look at the suspension at the back end. Yeah, and the problem is, Chris, we had no warm-up this morning to really test that car to see it is fixed properly. Greg, what do you have?
Well, I'm standing by with Eric Kern, and Eric, we had the tires on the wall. The team was ready to go with a stop, and then it went green, and you guys decided not to make the stop. What was that all about?
Yeah, we got a little thrown off. I mean, we were hoping for a wave by is what we were looking for. We were in front of the overall 90 DP leader. We were in front of him. We were thinking we were going to get wave by and go up a lap on the field, but that didn't work out that way. They just shifted us behind. So it's okay, though. We got a real fast wheeling Team Fox Chevrolet Corvette here today, so we'll see. We just keep the thing up front. We have another couple good pit stops. The Stevenson guys were kind of right there with us. They pitted, but they didn't do a driver change yet. So a lot of guys still have to do driver changes. So maybe we're not that far off. We'll see. A little behind on the fuel strategy, but we own Team Fox Corvette's going fast right now. So we'll see.
All right, thanks very much, Eric. And, you know, Tommy, you talked earlier about a new sheriff in town. I wonder if that, thinking about the wave-by, they don't do that in the American Le Mans Series anymore. I wonder if that maybe was part of the deal.
Well, the wave around, there's two different types of wave around, and they're confusing to me. I think not everybody obviously clearly has a handle on them.
Yeah, certainly they're rolling the dice there a little bit by waiting. They thought they could maybe sneak one up on the rest of the field. It wasn't going to happen. As we go to break, Ricky Taylor in the 90 machine continues to lead in Daytona Prototype, and in GT is Boris Said in the Whelen Corvette. On board with the 70 machine right now, has been having a few issues. This development class, the GX class, Mazda have certainly put a lot of resources behind it. A lot of work been going on at the Speed Source camp. They continue to lead with their other car, Tristan Nunez in the 00.
Of course, this is a diesel-powered car, and it's a twin turbo, Tommy. It's pretty interesting. Small displacement, small compression, twin turbo diesel.
And I mean, I can say it now because they're running well and leading, but their debut at Daytona was nothing short of disastrous. But development program, they've made major updates at each step along the way. They really a lot of re-engineering on the driveline, and so far so good for the 00 with Tristan Nunez.
Spoke to the team boss Sylvain Tremblay the other day, and he was very bullish. He said we're learning every weekend, and he said we changed a lot of parts in the driveline. We were snapping axles at the last round at Austin just because of the immediate torque of these diesel-powered engines, but certainly there's been some problems early on for the 70 machine. Greg, what's going on?
Well, basically, the driver at the time said he just suddenly lost complete drive. However, the engine was working just fine. The team, he pitted, it was just coming straight through into the box. And so he decided, I'm going to stop and see what it is. They think he just caught a neutral in between the gears because he said they pitted, they managed to get it in the gear, it was running fine, he's taken off, and that's how it's working. And along with the other issues you guys were talking about, this team, this is to their knowledge, the first time a true production block is being used in a diesel racing situation. Chris?
Yeah, Greg, we've got some more action down here in pit lane. The number 5, Brian Frizzell, coming in for fuel and tires. Christian Fittipaldi getting behind the wheel. Brian Frizzell was running 4th at the time, so Elton Sawyer deciding to bring his car in, get that driver change done. I don't think they're going to be breaking in here. So we'll probably see this car come back in a little bit later, and I wanted to try and get with Brian Frizzell, but he's taking a little bit of time getting his helmet off.
I think from a strategy standpoint, they got past the 30-minute mark, so they get driver's points. I would imagine it's about a 20-second delta come down pit lane that they think they can stay on the lead lap with this pit stop and then hope for a yellow.
I think this is maybe one of the tricks up Gary Nelson's sleeve, taking a gamble to get him in. Like you said, they need a yellow for this probably to work out for them, but odds are they'll get one.
Oh, traffic jam here.
Look at this, Jordan Taylor still putting the pressure on Fogarty.
Looking racy.
Fogarty really hasn't made hay since he's got buried in the pack, so the pole-sitting car that took off from the pack early in the going doesn't seem to like this traffic.
And again, we talked about the dirty air and how fast this racetrack is. Only takes, you lose 5% of your downforce on your nose, and you might be right above that edge, or it won't turn.
Okay, we saw that early pit stop for the Action Express boys. Chris has caught up with them.
Yeah, Brian Frizzell's got a big smile on his face. They were 5th at Austin and running up front here today. You got some good track position there, but now that you gave it back, is Christian going to be able to get that car back to the front?
I think so. I'm sorry I got to do this. I got to pull Scott Pruitt here. I'm married now. I got to say hello to my beautiful wife at home, Rochelle. I love you. But yeah, I think so. The car's good. We didn't qualify where we wanted to. I had a mistake in qualifying where I flat spotted a tire and it just pretty much ruined the session. So I think we have the pace to be up there. Now it's just about getting in. These guys can do it.
Yeah, and they did do a tire change on the 5 car too. So this team has now been able to take a look at tires on both the 5 and the 9 in the beginning part of this race. And these Continentals are looking good, guys.
During that interview, we saw something happen that doesn't happen very often. Jordan Taylor went around the outside of John Fogarty, and I guarantee you the chief steward's ears were ringing in Fogarty's ears, or voice was ringing in Fogarty's ears, because that exact same situation drew a penalty at Daytona with 2 other drivers, and Fogarty had to pinch the car on the exit. I think Jordan knew that, got a run on the outside, was on the inside of the next complex. Not easy to do, but the rules being applied the way they are, that's the way you kind of have to play that.
You saw Jordan on that switchback actually make room. He was right alongside, almost contact. He moved the car over about 6 more inches just to leave a little bit of gap.
Yeah, it's absolutely an adjustment for these guys, really, to interpret. We've got a new sheriff in town, Paul Walter. He's doing a great job as the race director, but he's really laid the law down. And here we see, down into that brake zone, Jordan Taylor tries to take it around the cushion, around the outside.
And watch it right here.
This is where Angelelli took out Darren Law last year, remember, didn't give him any racing room. Fogarty does the right thing.
And you saw Jordan right there on the outside when it was going to get tight, make room. He went to the right, left that open, so in case it didn't hit.
We had our own meeting with Paul Walter because there's been so much discussion after COTA to find out exactly what the message that was being given to the drivers, and that was one of them. If a guy's up next to you, as a driver, the way you know, coming off the corner, he had nosed ahead. In a driver, you're like, oh, I don't see him, he must be gone. Well, of course he's not gone. He's just lost a couple feet, and like I said, the message has come through loud and clear. It's different racing.
I like what he was saying in our meeting, that there's room on every corner for 2 cars plus an inch. So I like that. When I started thinking about that in my head, both guys working in together, that inch is what you're talking about.
I tell you what, though, boys, the way I was brought up, if you let someone go around the outside, you didn't want to show your face in the paddock later.
No.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. Ricky Taylor leads in DP. Boris continues to lead in GT, and it's Tristan Nunez in GX. There's some really cool shots there from downtown Birmingham. That's the Vulcan statue in Vulcan Park. Apparently it's the world's largest iron statue. Looking at the overall lead there as they head down into turn 5. Things tightening up there between Ricky Taylor and Bert Frizzell, starting to come on strong. Whilst we were in break, there was a major incident for our GT leader as well as John Fogarty as they came up through turns 3 and 4. Let's take a look.
Look at the traffic here, Tommy. All these cars in one place. Something's got to give. Here goes Edwards to the outside. Fogarty with them. Watch these signs up ahead. They thread the needle through the wet grass. No damage done.
And that's exactly the part of the track that set up that last pass. You see him scooping the dirt. Didn't get a big chunk of it. That set up the pass where Fogarty lost the position and Taylor caught a car in the same spot.
Well, it's higher elevation there, so it drains better than some of these downhill areas where the wet grass is really a big problem. Chris, give us an update.
Well, as you saw Fogarty go off there about 5 laps earlier, he did report to the team that he felt the car was giving up some overall grip. That car, also the 10 and the 01 cars that didn't take tires on that last stop. So Fogarty saying that car starting to lose grip at the racetrack. He went off the racetrack, was initially very worried about getting grass packed into that radiator. But after a lap out there, the team radioed back and said, hey, all the temps look fine on the telemetry down there. Stay out on the racetrack.
And Chris, same story for the 57. When they saw that video, and of course they got word from John Edwards, the crew immediately asked permission from the officials from Grand Am and pit lane to go to the pit wall and take a look at the car. It came by, they gave it a good look over. Crew guy turned around, gave him the thumbs up, no sign of grass packing into the grill. They think they are okay.
They got away with one, both of them.
Dodged a big bullet. Edwards, remember, he's made that pit stop. He's still up to 3rd, so Borisov leads. He's not made a pit stop yet today. Westphal's doing a great job in 2nd with a pit stop under his belt.
Of course, Westphal's in that Ferrari that we really thought would be on the pole. They didn't show the speed in qualifying, but that doesn't really mean anything. That is a potential winning car for sure.
Looking at the running order across the top of the screen, quick update. Taylor continues to lead from Burt Frizzell, but it's getting tight down to just over half a second. Jordan Taylor up to 3rd, just ran his fastest lap of the race. From Yackerman in 4th and Fogarty in 5th, Rojas 6th. That's the battle we're looking at right now. Rojas trying to catch up with Yackerman and Fogarty. You never count out the Ganassi boys, but they were definitely looking at the timesheets after the first practice runs here on Thursday and said, we have an issue. These Corvettes have a lot of speed, and we're not sure what we can do about it. But they always keep digging deep. They always have great strategy, and they always keep putting points on the board.
It's about to be the battle for 4th place. It's just going to be 3 guys contesting it.
Look at how close those times are. This far into the run, his best lap is only 0.3 off his fastest lap. So as the tires are wearing, it's being offset by the weight being burned. And that's exactly
that was tight. He picked the wrong side there, and Nunez didn't see him coming. It's a tough corner there. You come up over that brow, and the GX and the GT cars really need to use all of the road. They don't have the downforce of these Daytona prototypes, so you pretty much got to give them the room. Well, the Ganassi boys are not familiar with running this far down the order. What's the team boss got to say, Chris?
Well, the team boss is here this weekend. Chip Ganassi up on the box. And Chip, the car always doing well, but this weekend you guys just don't have the speed of the Corvettes.
Well, you know, Chris, it's early in the race yet. We're not even halfway yet, so we'll see. You know, it's what's great about the series. Lots of competition, and you know, it's good racing. That's what we like about it. So, I mean, nobody's going to run away with this thing. It's going to be a challenge all year.
Well, it seems like Rojas is complaining that the car's oversteering just a little bit. You guys going to be able to make some changes on the next stop?
Well, I hope so. That's what we're here to do. That's what we do in the pits, Chris. We make changes when they need them.
I knew that was coming.
Thanks, Chip.
I knew that was coming.
I tell you one thing, what I love about the Ganassi boys, it doesn't matter what you throw at them in terms of performance balancing, they don't beat themselves. They always have a positive attitude. We will go out and execute our races. We will get the results, whatever the cards we're dealt.
It's actually kind of how I view Scott Pruitt, too. And this was a little out of character. And apparently, Scott said, we've been using a good bit of that curveball race. Maybe I'll just use a little more. Well, wow. I mean, to come back from that, they had to replace the frame rail in that car, but they still almost came away with a W.
They nearly won it. They got a podium run at the end of the day, but I mean, Pruitt was in the mix there, and you'd have to think from like Wayne Taylor's perspective, he's scratching his head. How can these guys have a day like this and still beat us on the racetrack? Unbelievable. Well, Rojas is in catch-up mode right now. Can Timmy Keene and the boys perform some strategy magic? And then there's this man, the master. He's going to take over from the 01 from Memo Rojas. Leaders right now are Taylor, Said, and Nunez in GX. Welcome back to the action here at Barber, and it is heating up, boys. We've had a change for the lead here in the DP ranks and the overall lead. Burt Frizzell has got around Ricky Taylor. Sensational stuff here. Both of these boys. Oh, problem for Jim Norman. I think he might have cut down the left rear.
It sure was going on. Yeah, I think he did. I think he just had a big spin. Might have been helped. Who knows? But man, that was at the end of the straightaway.
So he's okay, but certainly a lurid slide there. He hasn't been happy with the car all weekend. Now we're on board here with the number 90 car of Ricky Taylor, and the leader is right in front of him, and he's got his brother Jordan Taylor right behind him.
Yes,
they had
he
a
does.
great duke out at Coda. Okay, down into that hairpin, you see Bert Frizzell really pushing hard here. Coming up almost to the hour mark. They're going to be very close on fuel, even with that yellow. They're going to need to hit pit lane soon. But let's take a look at that pass for the lead, guys.
Down the front straightaway, probably a good setup draft to the inside, I'm guessing. Yep, here we go. That was set up, I'm sure, coming onto the straightaway.
Not easy to do to get all the way alongside there.
And it looks like Jordan Taylor got held up in some traffic because he was right behind his brother. Not any longer.
Let's have another look at that Jim Norman incident when he took that.
Oh,
he got bumped.
Man, he got ping-ponged.
Yeah, he did. Yackerman forced him into Rojas.
That could have been a really big wreck with those two DP cars had they not gotten straightened out.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what the race director does on that one, because if a car spins, what we've seen in the first couple of rounds, that typically leads to a penalty. You can see some damage there on the right front dive plane of Memo Rojas. I think he got into it with Yackerman just a couple of laps ago, so that may be hurting his ability to get through these high-speed sections of the racetrack.
Those little bitty widgets on the front make quite a bit of difference.
If you doubt that, stick your hand out the window on the interstate at 55 and start waving it around, and multiply that times up to 130, 140 miles an hour. And those little dive planes are very effective.
Yeah, and that was a contact with the 6 car earlier on that damaged that.
He did say the car was loose.
Yeah, that'll fix it.
Look at this, really tight action down into that hairpin. There's not many overtaking opportunities on this racetrack, but that certainly provides one of them. But guys typically defend that inside line to not open the door. So Rojas is feeling the pressure. He feels he needs to get some track position here before he turns it over to Scott Pruitt. He's pushing hard. He wants that 5th position away from Yackerman. Coming up on the halfway point in this race. It's just a 2-hour race here in Barber. And our Continental Tire halfway leader goes to Bert Frizzell. The Action Express boys have done some testing down in New Orleans at the NOLA race circuit. They really worked hard with Bert in terms of getting him up to speed with these Continental tires and getting the most out of them. And boy, oh boy, he's got a great race car underneath him, and he's done an awesome job here today.
Talking to Gary Nelson before, he was really happy. He said, I really like the chances of the 9. The 5 is coming together in terms of those two guys gelling together. Here's a view of that other incident. They split him. Probably startled him a little bit.
I'm sure it did.
Didn't give him a lot of room.
No.
Yeah, it looked like Yackerman could have maybe gone a bit further to the right. He was probably thinking, I don't want to open the door for Rojas. I think he knew Rojas was coming and wanted to defend that inside line and kind of...
There were some lucky boys right there. I got to tell you, that could have really been a big mess.
Leader is in. Greg?
Yeah, just a routine stop. Already got the driver change completed. One of the best. Joao Barbosa now behind the wheel. Great drive by Frizzell. His team is underway. And that was a great stop. They were waiting on fuel. Now it's up to, like I said, Joao to get her done. And boy, are they running well.
That is an awesome job by Bert Frizzell in bouncing back. I mean, he was very disappointed. He said, my task is to keep the car in good position and hand it over to Joao Barbosa. He said, I did not do that in Austin. I need to do a better job. Look at this. Wow, they're walling down into turn 5, dirt tracking it through there, and Yackerman gets the position back.
They've made contact already one time, so I'm sure the Chief Steward watching closely these two guys.
I bet you Rojas is boiling under that visor, getting the big squeeze like that, but you know, that's hard racing.
2 South American drivers, Yackerman from Colombia, Memo Rojas from Mexico, of course. They're going at it hard. This is what Daytona prototype racing is all about.
You can see daggers in the eyes of those guys right now.
Remember, these guys pitted about 20 minutes in, so we just saw the leaders pit who had not made a pit stop, so these guys can potentially go another 20 minutes or so before they have to hit pit lane, but obviously a lot of different strategy in terms of how you split the rest of the race up. GT lead, boys, is heating up.
I kind of said that at the beginning of the show, that I thought that the Ferraris, the longer the green went, would start to come toward the front. They seem to not use their tires quite as bad as some of the other cars in that class, so they get good at the end.
Oh, Westphal's got a really good run here on Boris, and he tucks it to the inside. I think Boris's tires may be going away. Remember, he didn't make that pit stop. Westphal has pitted here today.
That's exactly what that looked like Boris was a sitting duck. You know, in the middle of that corner, you could see the Corvette just start to laterally slide. You know, Boris, real good car control. Not a big drama, but the speed's not there anymore.
Ferrari's looking good, Chris.
Yeah, Cal, but on that first pit stop when we saw some of those GT cars come in, we saw the Stevenson Camaro take fuel and tires. The 3 Ferraris pitting nose to tail down here. They were 3 GT cars that only took fuel, so Westphal still on the tires that he started this race with. Greg?
From second place overall, the number 90 Spirit of Daytona Coyote Corvette is in, and driver change unfolding right now, and it is Ricky Taylor, who's driven a brilliant race out. Everything going fine. Westbrook looks like he's in, gonna pull the door shut. Boy, very efficient stop thus far. Just working on these left side tires, front tires, getting them done. Just that right front tire and fuel left to go. This team has been superb. They have had an amazing record here. Just a little bit of a long haul finishing that fuel line. And I'm gonna see if I can get to him real quick and see where Ricky is. He's probably gone for a drink. We'll grab him as soon as we can.
Well, Richard Westbrook going for 2 in a row here at Barber Motorsports Park, and with 56 minutes on the board, TK, got to think they're going to be pretty good on fuel. It'll be tight, but they should be good to go. Remember, there was a yellow in this first stint.
Now, look what happened here. He was able to leapfrog back around. We used to see that in the old IndyCar days with the tires holding up as well as they are. Staying out an extra, stretching the fuel an extra lap longer has now put him back in front. He's got cold tires, but he should be able to get him up to temperature and pressure.
Exactly. Ricky had an additional lap on hot tires as Joao Barbosa was getting his car up to speed. But meanwhile, Greg has caught up with Ricky.
And a knackered look at Ricky is at that. Boy, you put in a long stint here. Car good?
It is okay. I mean, it's not what we had in qualifying, but the guys made a tire pressure change. I'm just upset with myself. I didn't drive very well. Misread the traffic. The 43 car, I mean, we're going to stop and hold plus 60 if we touch someone. And if it wasn't for someone being considerate, he would have been in the wall. So, I mean, I'm a bit frustrated with myself and with some of the other people out there, but at the end of the day, Richard's in the car. We've got a fantastic team. The Visit Florida guys had a great stop there, so we'll get them.
All right, Ricky, thanks. That's what they do in pit stops, make adjustments. This team did one.
Great comment there by Ricky Taylor. The words of Paul Walter is getting in these drivers' heads, Tommy.
Yeah, and it goes against the nature because they've been racing one way for a long time, and you know, when someone uses you up, your first reaction is to dump them, and you feel like you're entitled to do that. But the way they're calling it, like you said, it's not just stop and go; it's a stop plus 60.
Well, Borisset has pitted the Whelen Corvette from the second spot, handed over to his teammate Eric Curran. Let's see if they can catch that Ferrari. So lots to play here in the final hour of this race. Right now, Jordan Taylor leads for the 10 team. Jeff Westphal doing a great job for Ferrari, and in GX, it's Tristan Nunez. Well, the dominoes are starting to fall. Once you get inside that fuel window, you really have to pit. The 10 car is in, and the Ganassi team is in as well, Chris.
Yeah, Calvin, the window's open, so the 10 car came in. Max Angelelli now behind the wheel. Didn't see any big changes to that car. Also, Scott Pruitt in the 01 car right now. Fuel and tires there. They made that wicker change, that first pit stop of the race. No wicker change this time. Now I'm waiting for the 99 to come in. John Fogerty will be getting out. Alex Gurney will be getting in, and we'll start talking to some of these drivers.
Well, once you get in that window, if you stay out, you're just going to get killed. If there's a yellow pit lane is closed and you get shuffled back, and we saw it happen to the 10 car at the last round in Austin. Here we see John Fogerty trying to inch every last 10th out, even down pit lane. Then he has to hit that pit lane speed limit, 45 miles an hour. It seems like an eternity as they're crawling down here. Let's see what the Gainesville team can do. They have the momentum. What can they do here today?
And John Fogerty hits the box. He was looking at the nose of the car as he was coming into the pit lane, and definitely no grass up in that radiator as we saw John Fogerty go off the racetrack, but a little bit of damage to that front splitter. Not a whole lot of damage, just maybe a layer or so, or a quarter inch missing from the left front of it, and also a hole up on the front of the nose there. So gonna have to wonder, is that gonna mess with the handling of this car? Tires done, just waiting for fuel, and just behind Ryan DL now coming in the 2 car. Now this car was in about 15 minutes ago. They did their driver change. They did fuel and tires at this point in time. Peter Barron trying to go with a little bit different strategy here. So he told me that this is only going to be about 12 seconds of fuel on this stop, but this team also doing tires.
Well, 12 seconds of fuel, it certainly puts the pressure on the tire changes here if that's all they need. So everyone got a different way of slicing this cake here today, Tommy.
Well, the fact that those guys made it past halfway that stayed out.
Hold it. Go, go, go.
Looks like that was the right strategy. The 10 car had enough speed that he caught those guys and put himself back on the same strategy as them. We'll have to see where this shakes out.
We understand that there's been some kind of warning sent out to the 01 car in terms of too much argy-bargy, as we like to call it, but no penalties to this point. But they're just saying, we've got an eye on you. Of course, there's been a driver change since that time, so Scott Pruitt behind the wheel.
That was Memo Rojas, and he was really getting frustrated with Jackman, and they had made contact more than once, and it was starting to look ugly. So they're just putting the warning out there to say, okay, now we know you're here doing this stuff. So, but now you got Scott Pruitt in there.
Here comes our GT leader. What a great job by Jeff Westphal for this Scuderia Corsa team. They came so close to that victory at Circuit of the Americas, then got that penalty late in the going, and they've turned it over to Alessandro Balzan, who's really shown tremendous speed this year. But what a great job by Westphal on debut here. The 57 car is in as well. Edwards is out. It's going to be Scotsman Rob Liddell trying to take the Stevenson Autosport Camaro to victory lane here today. Good clean start. Well, we're going to try and catch our breath here a little bit, and Jordan Taylor did an awesome job for his dad's team. Chris Neville's with him.
Yeah, Jordan Taylor looks like he's already caught his breath. I think he didn't break a sweat out there. Jordan, it looked like you were battling with just about everybody up front. You guys had a car to win at Austin. It looks like you have a car to win today.
Yeah, I think so. I was a little worried that first stint before the yellow. We were struggling a little bit to get up to temp and everything, but once we got rolling after that yellow, car was strong. We're taking it a little easy on the tires, and I think that's why we were so quick at the end of the stint, being able to catch the Frizzell and my brother by the end. I could see they were struggling with tires, so the car is strong. Max in the car, and I think we got a good car for the finish.
Anything you tell Max before he took the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, I was taking it easy on the left front and the rears for the first third of the stint. Tires are big, but fuel is a big thing as well. I mean, I was a little concerned when those other guys didn't pit at the beginning. That's a pretty big matzo ball hanging out there when you don't know how much fuel you're going to have for the last hour of the race. So I think we're in the best shape out of everyone right now.
It's been a couple weekends now that you and your brother have gone toe-to-toe out there. How's that?
It's fun. I mean, we almost hit a couple of times again, but we're yet to make contact, and I think that's the most important thing. We're having clean racing, good battles, and I think it's good for the TV.
Thanks, Jordan. Greg?
The number 60 Shank Racing, Riley Ford is in. Of course, they already did their driver change at this point, so now it's just down to tires and fuel. And at this point, looks like tires doing very, yes, they're solid. They're done. Rip that little bit of cleaning strip right off of the windshield. And we're expecting the number 6 car to make its stop as well. Gustavo Jackman doing a superb job out there, and he'll be turning it over as well to Antonio Pizzonia. Boy, going from strength to strength and open wheel talent.
I like that. We haven't made contact yet. It's got the disclaimer in there.
We see
Good
Valiente
for TV, bad for his dad.
Yeah.
Valiente trying to get those Continental tires up to temperature. As we go to a break, Jackman now leads for Mike Shank Racing as Dejan Valmalka, our 24-hour winner in GT, and Tristan Nunez in GX. I love this shot, guys. The intensity here with Pizzonia. And you can also see that how brutally and physically this car has to be manhandled around the racetrack.
It's one thing when people watch this for the first time, watch his eyes. You don't blink very much. You're concentrating so much, and your eyes are so important where you're going with the race car that you never blink. Watch how long it takes him before he blinks.
Very impressed with his performance at Circuit of the Americas. Didn't know the racetrack, didn't know the race car. Just solid day until he got clipped by Max Angelelli late in the going. What are you hearing, Chris?
Well, John Fogerty and Alex Gurney had to fight hard at Circuit of the Americas. Fighting hard again today. And, John, you took the 99 off the racetrack. A little bit of damage on the nose, a little bit of damage to the splitter, too. How's that affecting the balance of the 99?
It didn't seem to. William, Allison? It's funny. Me and John Edwards seem to share a lot of commonalities, and I followed him right off the track. Didn't feel like it hurt the car at all. So I was worried about packing up in the 99 Red Dragon, but she's running cool, and everything seems to be good. Alex is making his way up to the 10. I think we're spot on our strategy, so it's looking good for the Gainesville car.
Seems like the 10 car and the Action Express cars are very quick this weekend. Do you guys have anything for them?
Absolutely, I think we do. The car was brilliant. Very difficult track to pass at. I think we've absolutely maximized the downforce, so we're very good. It's hard to get by people on the straights, but the car is really good.
Yeah, this team's still trying to go 2 for 2.
Certainly a strong run. Another strong run here today for Stefan Sarazan as he brings the 8-star Corvette in from the lead. Be a full service, new set of Continental tires going on. But I tell you what, once again, the Velocity Worldwide boys, they had a great pit stop, great strategy. It's going to be the 10 car that assumes the lead, Tommy.
Well, it just shows you all these guys that didn't stop on that first yellow, or did stop thinking the other guys couldn't. Jordan Taylor had enough of a storming stint that he was able to make that up. And then we saw the guys going longer with the Connies holding up as well as they are, being able to leapfrog. We saw, and that's how the 10 got in the lead. So very interesting race, seeing how it's played out. But executed to perfection by the 10. It remains to see if the 99 has the speed to catch him to get around, though.
This 8-star team are expanding. They're just taking delivery of another Corvette. They hope to campaign for the second half of this season. So meanwhile, Pruitt now sits in the 6th spot. In catch-up mode, his teammate is with our Chris Neville.
Yeah, Memo Rojas has been debriefing with Tim Keen down here. And Memo, we've been watching the traffic out there, and you've really kind of been in the midst of it. You almost got into a GT car there.
It's been really tough. It seemed like we've been at the end of the tail every time, you know. Really hard to get through those GT cars today. We got bad luck with that and when we lost the position to Jackaman. But you know, it's part of Grand Am racing. That's what makes it exciting, and you know, hopefully we'll have a better finish at the end of the race.
Sounded like you were trying to get the back end of the car to hook up a little bit better. The changes putting you guys in the right direction?
Yeah, we did a wicker change and it kind of helped it, but problem is that we've been struggling with the balance all weekend, and with the wet practice that we had, we couldn't really fix the car during practice, so we pretty much came blindfolded to the race, and obviously we didn't set up the car as good as we wanted.
Well, with those changes, they're trying to hook the rear of the car up. Pruitt actually likes a car that's a little bit freer than Rojas, so he may be able to handle this right now.
I think Rojas had all the free he could handle down there in turn 5. Pretty good car control there.
Does this, I mean, you guys raced against Scott Pruitt in the Trans Am days. You were all kind of in your prime. He's still in his prime. What's going on?
Well, he's unbelievable. And when he's not doing this, he's busy elsewhere. He's got his own winery. I was talking to Jimmy Vasser. Jimmy Vasser says, he goes, Pruitt makes it himself. He says, I learned by writing checks. He learns by actually doing it. So Pruitt is an inspiration. I mean, and he hasn't lost a step at all.
You know, his whole life changed when he had the big IndyCar accident and he got hurt. He had to go in such a rehabilitation regimen, and he's never gotten out of it. Now the guy's into his 50s. He works out like a demon. You look at him, and no percentage of body fat on the guy. His head's still in the game. He still wants to win as much. And that's hard. You know that too, Tommy. The longer you play this game, you know, at some point in time, it's hard work.
5-car pits from the 4th spot. There's Christian Fittipaldi, as that will give a position to this man, Scott Pruitt. So he still has the passion. He still has the desire. He is intense, our Scott Pruitt, as he tries to chase down Joao Barbosa. Things are heating up here. Who's going to get the win here in Barber? Final pit stops are taking place right now. And there we see the traffic. It gets really hairy around this racetrack. There you can see the Action Express and Richard Westbrook going at it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Back at Barber, Max Angelelli continues to lead from Alex Gurney. It's Westbrook in 3rd, Joao Barbosa 4th, Scott Pruitt 5th. In GT, it's Rob Nadelli who's just taken the lead over from Alessandro Balzan. Dejan van Moltke drops to 3rd, and Oberlin in 4th, Eric Curran in 5th.
Starting to tighten up now, guys. No doubt about it. We're running down to the 30 minutes to go pretty soon here. And that's when all the magic starts to happen in these races, no doubt.
Fogarty seemed pretty confident that they have a fast enough car. They've been kind of seesawing back and forth depending on traffic. He made an interesting comment, though. Downforce was one of our keys to the race, and he said they piled as much as they could on, and they think they're the fastest around a lap, but where they're fast is braking in mid-corner and corner entry and so forth. So even if you can catch them, it'll be tough to get around. And the other side of those driver rules is Max Angelelli fell foul of them trying to overtake. A smart driver knows that the lead guy is heavily protected, so you can turn in with abandon, knowing that if the guy hits you, it's probably going to get the other guy in trouble.
We talk about risk versus reward in making any pass. It has a whole new context now in terms of the point swing. If you should get that stop and hold for 60, it really just takes you right out of the ball game.
Yeah, this late in the race, there's no time to recover. I mean, it's chopping one of your legs off is what it's doing. So you got to really be cognizant of that while you're driving.
Pruitt and Barbosa seem to be firing about the same lap times right now, so probably traffic is going to play a factor here, and whether Pruitt can close in on that gap. Barbosa, after the recovery that he had at Austin, where they damaged the race car earlier, had the fastest race lap. This team feels they've got all of the pieces in place this year to execute. Right now, they're just not getting that racing luck.
You know, this dealing in traffic that we're going to see at the end of this race, that's where the downforce that's piled on really makes a big difference, too. It allows you to brake a little bit deeper. It allows you to throw the car around a little bit more with some security. And you need that kind of confidence as
Traffic
you go down.
there, Dorsey. Traffic there. Barbosa had hit the brakes briefly there, right through the kink.
Doesn't let anywhere.
Pruitt looks to the outside. Can he make the same move that Jordan Taylor did?
Gonna try.
They're giving each other room. Pruitt makes the move. Suddenly the outside line is legit here.
Yeah, well.
Wow. And that's the only thing that can get the lead guy in trouble is if you don't leave room on the exit. So it's amazing. It used to be if you took the inside, you knew you could use the guy up on the outside, but those days are over.
That being said, you know, you got to drive a double wide car if you want to win this thing.
Well, it's certainly been an intense GT battle here today. The Brumos Porsche team are here. We're hearing that they're not maybe on board for the full season. We'll see them at Road Atlanta, but they've been having a very busy weekend, Chris.
Yeah, Calvin, for Lee Keen and Andrew Davis, priority number one is always getting the 59 car to victory lane. But this weekend, Andrew Davis, you got to spend some pretty special time with some children from Children's of Alabama.
Yeah, much bigger cause that we're racing for Brumos Racing this weekend. The Racing for Children's charity that supports Children's of Alabama. And Lee and I have got to spend a lot of time with the kids. We were at the hospital, Children's of Alabama in downtown Birmingham, touring the new facility, and got to meet a lot of the children there. And then they came out yesterday. We were able to give them some rides. We have two honorary crew chiefs for our race here, Emily and Bailey, who are helping us make some calls. And, you know, it's heartwarming. And as a parent myself, very emotional to see the struggle that these kids go through. But more importantly, how strong they are and their families are to fight through such a serious thing. Obviously, things are serious for us on the racetrack, and we take things very serious. I take my job very serious, but having an opportunity to meet people like that and meet these children puts things in perspective.
Yeah, pretty important cause, but now the 59 car just back in pit lane. You guys are having a tough day.
We are having a tough day. We're struggling as well a little bit out on the racetrack just for general grip. We had some braking problems that we found out in qualifying yesterday that seemed to have kind of come on to the race as well, and just overall grip. We're really struggling, but fighting hard and fighting for these kids to support the cause.
Yeah, they're not willing to give up yet.
No, they're going to keep digging, and both Andrew Davis and Lee Keen have had pole positions here. They're hoping to get a victory for those kids here this weekend. Doesn't look like it's going to work out, but they'll keep plowing on here, trying to get some points on the board. Great racetrack, boys. I mean, this is really a roller coaster racetrack. It's narrow, it's tough to pass, but it's a joy to drive. Action Express boys having a big day. Burt Frizzell certainly had a great run. Greg?
Well, he did that, and right now he's been real interested in what's going on in the big screen here, watching that battle with the 01 car. Burt, first of all, great stint you put in, and you guys are in this, man.
Yeah, you know, our tires are staying underneath us. That really allowed us to have a nice long run. Joao's hoping for the same thing. I just want to say I love you, and you're in my thoughts and prayers to my aunt out in Hawaii who's battling some illness. And, you know, I can't be prouder than to have led a race driving a Corvette for the bow tie. What's better than that?
Yeah, and doing a great job as well. By the way, you know, this guy also involved with Camp Boggy Creek. There's a lot of things going on pretty special here in this paddock.
Kind of surprised, guys, that these guys have dropped back to that 5th spot. I think the other teams just staying out a little bit longer, lighter fuel load, hot tires. They got shuffled back. They were leading when Burt Frizzell came in right at that hour mark.
Yeah, it's funny how this has ebbed and flowed. You know, when those guys stayed out, it seemed like the only thing that was going to keep them out of victory lane was if they had to take a splash at the end.
Well, we're hearing right now on the radio that the answer to the question is that the 9 is in a fuel conservation situation. They're saving fuel. They're going to make a run at the end. So the speed's in the car. They're just holding it back.
Remember, they got to that hour mark, but they did have a safety car period within that to get them to that point. So they're hoping for another one here. Otherwise, they've got to backpedal, roll out of that gas pedal, save a little bit of fuel. It isn't hard. It isn't easy to do when you're chasing hard like Joao Barbosa is. We'll have to see what he can come up with. Can Action Express get on the podium? Right now, Angelelli leads. It's Liddell in GT, and now Spencer Pumpelly in the GX class. Board here with the 69 machine. These guys keep scoring big points. Take a look at a replay here of a quick spin. It's Lazaro behind the wheel right now. Didn't see anyone else involved there, boys.
Take a look here.
On board with him.
Basically, you got the car loaded up quite a bit, so
Yeah.
you're trying to slow it down, and it transfers all the weight to the front end, unweights the rear.
It's a really tricky braking zone there because the car's really like you loaded to the left, like you say, Tommy. So he's recovered here. No harm, no foul, and
don't think he hurt the tires either because he got off onto the grass right away, finished that spin off.
had a brilliant podium run at the Daytona 24-hour race and then rebounded from an incident in practice at Circuit of the Americas to score another top 6 finish. So they keep putting points on the board, and that's what you have to do in this championship. Miguel Asentado has been a 2-time GT champ, Doss.
He's using a lot of curb, and that really jacks the weight of the car around. I think that's what caught him off there because he really biased the thing. And you see right here when he gets on top of these curbs, it really leans over hard.
Same thing happened to the DP car coming by. You try to get in deep, and then you got to brake harder. It transfers more weight. That's one of those trade-offs.
63 car is still having a great run right here. It's Alessandro Balzan now behind the wheel. But what a run we saw from Jeff Westphal earlier in this race, Greg.
Yeah, he put in a storming stint. And Jeff, kind of an interesting story how you ended up getting this ride for the weekend. You were actually brought onto the team as a driver coach, and then they said, now we need this guy in the prime seat.
Yeah, you know, it was the phone call I got. It about knocked me off my bicycle when I was climbing up a hill just to do some training. But yeah, I was signed on with the team as a driving coach. Things changed with them. They needed to promote me to the primary car, so I was in the right place and happy to do it for them. And a wonderful group of people here. It's like a new family for me, so very happy it's Scuderia Corsa.
All right, and of course the Barber and this Ferrari look to be a pretty good fit. Chris?
Well, Greg, just everything seems to be settling down up front, but just listen to some radio traffic between Tim Keene and Scott Pruitt. And Tim Keene telling Scott Pruitt that they're not catching Richard Westbrook at this point in time, not catching the leader. So telling Scott, hey, let's just cool it off a little bit. Let's save some fuel, save the tires, because they think at the end of this race, everybody is going to be sliding around quite a bit, and they'd like to have a little bit more car left.
Well, I think that's a great point. And again, it's all about thinking ahead. By telling Scott to save those tires, if we get a yellow, and his tire's in a little bit better shape, he may be in good shape for a shootout here at the end.
And it can happen. I mean, you see it happen all the time. So if you're not making any ground on the guy in front of you, then save what you got for a while. All it takes is one caution, and this gets really, really fraught. And we see it all the time.
And what did Jordan Taylor say? He told Angelelli, he said he waited and took care of the left front and the rears. That left front, that long last complex where the Ferrari got turned around, is just constantly loading that left front. So if you have the presence of mind to back off and save something, if you don't get a yellow, you might be tougher to close. See off the pace? No? Okay.
Well, last time through, Gurney and Westbrook were about half a second quicker than Angelelli. What are you hearing on the 90 machine, Greg?
I checked in with Troy Fliss, and he said that they think they're in really good shape. They have a slightly fresher set of tires. They are still saving a little bit of fuel, but he said, we think both the 10 and the 99 are, and he said, and we're still making up a little ground on them while we're being a little conservative. He said, we're hoping to get a yellow, we could race this thing out, and he said, but if we don't, he said, we've got a package we think we can take to the front again here at Barber. They do love this place.
They certainly do. 4 consecutive front row starting positions, 2 poles they've had here over the years, and of course they are the defending race champions. Richard Westbrook has been busy this week. He ran Alton Park over in Britain, came over, but right now he's chasing down Angelelli for the lead. Liddell is leading GT and Pompelli in GX. Well, the fans are certainly enjoying this beautiful venue here at Barber Motorsports Park and the race that is unfolding in front of them. There's been a very busy month for sports car racing. Back at March 14th, the United Sports Car Racing name and logo was revealed, along with the class structure prototype, which is going to be Daytona prototypes and P2 machines, as well as the Delta Wing. The prototype challenge class, GT Le Mans like they run in ALMS right now, GT Daytona like you're watching today, as well as the GX class. Then on March 15th, more news. USCR confirmed a strategic alliance with the ACO, continuing a collaboration that ALMS started some 14 years ago. The agreement will allow USCR competitors to have entry at Le Mans and also to allow the Road Atlanta event to be called the Petit Le Mans. Then just a few days later, the announcement of the license and cooperation agreement, and you like this one, Tommy, with ITR, which administers DTM. The goal is to establish a North American version of DTM using that Super GT and DTM platform. Potentially should be great if we can get that going in 2016.
Fingers crossed. Obviously, it sounds like they're going to go out and see how much interest they have, but by aligning both Japan, Europe, and the U.S. with a common chassis. Hopefully they'll get enough people that see value in all those places that we get enough manufacturers to commit.
Yeah, and talking to some of the manufacturers, they said we can't fund 6 to 8 cars, but if we get enough players and it's like 3 to 4 cars, then we'll be on board.
There was a close moment right there as Rob Liddell, the leader in the 57, locked up the Stevenson Camaro. On the outside of that, of course, was a prototype trying to make an outside pass, what we've seen.
Fellow Chevy.
Yeah, fellow Chevy, and that almost went bad.
Yeah, and Westy's chasing hard. He's been in 3rd spot, and he's been chasing down Angelelli and Gurney for 1st and 2nd position, but that cost him some vital tenths there. Just got to be so careful, and it's in the driver's head. We've heard comments today. We have to think about these penalties, and they're not taking the chances like they did before. Balzan chasing down. This Ferrari has been quick, has got the balance, has got the platform, and they got the driver behind the wheel right now.
It's been a while since Stevenson has won a race, and I was talking, you know, with Mike Johnson about that, and he just opened up his own go-kart track in St. Louis, a nice place called Pole Position. And anyway, he said, we got to get back in the game here with this Camaro. It's been a rough year so far for those guys.
Both these guys on exactly the same fuel strategy. They pitted some 19 laps ago with 19 minutes on the board, so they should be pretty close, I think, to making it without a splash.
And the race was won in the pits because they pitted and the Stevenson car got out in front.
Mike's a good strategist. He does a good job with his team. They had some bad luck this year with mechanical nigglings, but
yeah, he's always on the ball. If you followed his lead, you wouldn't go far adrift. And we're hearing that the 9 car is still in fuel starvation mode. They really need to save a little bit here or grab a yellow.
Look how close it is up front.
Yeah, I tell you what, Alex Gurney has a fast race car underneath him. I thought that Angelelli was managing things as he laid down a 120.8, just a couple of tenths off his fastest lap of the race just 2 laps ago. But Gurney is closing. He's putting the pressure on.
Once you get that close, too, you just automatically get drawn in, you know. If you smell the blood, it's something you can get to now.
Well, Rob Liddell currently has the lead in the GT class, and he's following on from a great opening stint from his co-driver. Greg is with him.
John Edwards, as always, from pole, put in a great opening drive. You guys are still in this. A lot of unknowns with tires. You were concerned, I know, about tire wear. Everything seems to be okay at this point. How about fuel?
We're good to go to the end, and we're in the lead. We're just praying that it goes green the whole way, because as soon as the caution comes out, it's going to tighten the field up, and then it's going to be a lot more pressure. So our first time seeing what a tires would do where it's in the race, because this track has been diamond cut since the last time we were here. So this was our first time, and it seemed to be a lot better than last year. On the old surface, we would have struggled a lot, but we're doing good, and I think as long as the track stays green, Robin will be one of the best guys out there to be defending. So fingers crossed for this one.
Looking for a good result. You see the guy Mike Johnson up on the box behind. He hit once again, as you said, guys, called a great strategy.
Yeah, but Alessandro Balzan has got the Ferrari there now. I mean, he just made up a lot on that lap. He's within contention now.
Stevenson Group had 3 victories last year, including the season finale at Lime Rock, but that doesn't count when you get to a new season. You need to put one on the board. So the big question is, can that Ferrari chase down Rob Liddell for the GT lead? There's fuel issues with some of our DP frontrunners. Angelelli currently holds the lead in DP. Liddell hanging on, barely. And it's Spencer Pompelli still in GX. On board there with the Brumos Porsche, but this GT battle is certainly closing down here. Can Liddell hang on, boys?
That's a good question. You mentioned that they were having to adjust to the ride height changes to get the car to ride the curbs. I've not seen a car use the curbs like that, so they've got it sorted out. Going to be hard to get around. I think the Ferrari has the legs on them, but getting around is another story.
Well, another car that's having a great run here today is the Whelen Corvette. Started the race by Boris said. Greg's caught up with him.
Yeah, they're lurking behind that battle up front, sitting in 3rd right now, Boris. You guys good to go to the end?
Yeah, it's going to be really tight, but the Whelen Corvette's been running good all day, and just feel good about being part of Team Chevy, and hopefully we'll get a podium today. Or maybe those other cats will run out of gas.
Well, obviously that's the scenario. The car seems to work really well here.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we had a new tire. We didn't have any dry running, so we kind of had a guess at it, but the car's always been really fast here, the Corvette. So hopefully 20 more minutes we'll be done.
All right, he's in a Civies. As soon as the race is done, he's off to Australia. His dealership won an award from BMW.
Prestigious award at that. In fact, first BMW dealership ever to win this award within its first year of being open, so things going well.
And Boris is there every day that he's in town. He's working hard at it. Got a good partner in Rick Hendrick.
Yeah, it's not a bad man to have steer you in the right direction. Look at this. DP guys trying to weed their way through this GT front-running battle. Liddell, he's an intense character. He loves to win, and they want to get that first win on the board here this year. Been a struggle so far. Little problems have hurt them, both at Daytona and at Circuit of the Americas.
Watch coming off the hairpin. Last lap, he left some black tracks, and so that extra rear weight of the Ferrari might be why it's so good on its tires, the more even weight distribution. You saw it again there.
Yeah, that's an indication, really using up that rear tire. A lot of temperature being built up as he puts that power down, getting wheel spin.
What he's going to try to do is he's going to try to exit as long as he can, hesitate a little longer. You can see how hard he's driving, charging in here. Another black mark there.
We're seeing a replay of an incident between the 94 machine of Bill Oberlin and Richard Westbrook. Both guys wanted to line up for the next corner before they'd cleared each other. This is earlier. So Westbrook down into the hairpin, then he accelerates off. It's Billy Oberlin, latest winner in GT at Circuit of the Americas, and right there.
That's Westy saying, I didn't appreciate that.
I think it's exactly what that was about.
He's probably a little frustrated talking to Westy. He really felt that this was their race. They have a good, solid setup here. There wasn't a lot of dry running time. That should have been to their advantage. But right now they sit in the third spot, and they're making up no ground on the leaders.
Yeah, we're hearing a report that's not a good report for the Red Dragon fans out there. The 99 apparently reporting a misfire in the engine, and that's not what you need toward the end of a race.
Yeah, he seems to have really dropped back dramatically here on this last lap, so shouldn't be fuel issues. I mean, he's pitted a couple of laps later than Max Angelelli.
Sounds like he's on 7 right now. No smoke or anything at the exhaust. Could be something as small as a plug wire, but you never know. It's a long way to go when you have a problem.
Last time was a 121.7 compared to our leader's 120.9, so he's still got decent pace, but not going to close in on that leader. His next concern will be, will Richard Westbrook be able to catch me?
Yeah, that is the concern, because he can hold himself at this speed right now.
Well, let's get to the boss down at Gainesville. Chris is with Bob Stallings.
Yeah, the 99 was all over the back of the 10 car, but fading a little bit. We're hearing that maybe Alex has a little bit of a miss with the 99.
Yeah, he thinks he says there's a slight misfire, but we don't see anything on there. I think we're fine.
Okay, these guys keeping their fingers crossed, hoping they still have something for that 10 car.
Well, certainly a very solid race once again coming off that victory. You want to back it up with a big point scoring day, and he certainly seems to be up to speed right now.
All those little mechanical things that you hear and feel, you know.
Can't say enough about these Continental tires, the way they're hanging on here today. Look at this, dramas for the Brumos boys again. There's Lee Keen behind the wheel.
We got to that apex.
It's like he tried to do it.
That's probably quicker, actually.
Yeah.
It's a little shortcut.
That's it. It's a different way of getting the job done. He got it done, though. Something wrong there. You could see how squirrely that car was, Tommy. You could hear it, too.
Cool paint job with all the handprints from the Children's of Birmingham.
Oh, this car's got a lot of direction in it right now. I don't know what's going on, but it is really unhappy.
Yeah, the car is not happy. Andrew Davis said they've been struggling a little bit. And that's a shame, because this is a really solid race team, and they don't know what their future holds right now. They're looking for sponsorship packages to enable them to complete the full season. They will be at Road Atlanta. They feel we've got to compete here in the Southeast. And here we see Wayne Taylor figuring out how to use his phone. Max Angelelli, his boy, leads. Rob Liddell in GT, and it's still Pompelli in GX. Back at Barber, this GT leaders tightening up, boys. It's now less than half a second. Forget the gap. Bolzana's all over the back of Rob Liddell.
Liddell doing everything he can. He really widened his exit that time, not to spin up the rear tires. He's totally aware of the situation.
Remember, that 63 squad knows all about contact penalties. They got the lead at a very similar stage of the race at Circuit of the Americas, and had that taken away from them, they were deemed to come into the pit lane and serve a 60-second hold. They didn't take it. They got a time penalty after the race.
And right behind them is the overall leader in second place in DP. As you can see them just about to get into the middle of the lead for GT.
Looking at the race summary there, and there you can see the two battles for the lead. Gurney is closing in on Angelelli as well. It looks like his car is healthy right now.
Here they all are in this frame right here.
Look at this. Trying to thread their way through cleanly. You can't afford contact. So Angelelli leads right there. Then you see Alex Gurney in the Red Dragon. Slides it to the inside of Liddell. So the two leaders are clear of traffic. Liddell has gapped Balzan a little bit in that exchange. Greg.
All right, checking in real quick with Mike. Mike, we're seeing some pretty big black marks coming off of those rear tires out there. Are the tires still there?
Yeah, they're hanging in there pretty good. I mean, Robin's obviously been doing this a long time, so he knows how to keep these tires underneath them. With this new track surface, we didn't know what to expect, but it's actually a lot better than we did expect, so we're pretty happy. But, I mean, it's a great race between him and that Ferrari. That Ferrari, I think, is a little quicker than us, definitely per lap, but you see Robin's experience with the traffic. He knows how to let those DP cars go by without losing any time, and I think Balzan's still struggling with that. But when we got 5 minutes left here, I think that Camaro's going to be real hard to get around.
I think so, too, and they said he's in there working the bars pretty good. Let's get up to Chris Neville.
Yeah, Greg, I got a very nervous Wayne Taylor down here. And Wayne, you and I spoke before the race, and you said, with my boys starting up front, how do I root for just one? Well, you've got one leading and another in third, so it's going to be a pretty good day. But how nervous are you these last couple laps?
No, it's great to have the 10 car up front and to have Daytona third. I'm not nervous at all. The race is all...
It doesn't look that way.
No, never does. No, I think we got a good car. You know, I think the 90 car is very hot on fuel. So, but Max is doing a good job.
Yeah, they had a tough day at Circuit of the Americas, but it looks like momentum is swinging back their way.
And this is a team that is just executing, guys, in terms of their pit stops and their preparation. I mean, they realized at Daytona they did everything they could. They just didn't have the speed of the BMWs that day. Here we see one of the Speed Source machines having struggles there to the side of the track. And then at Circuit of the Americas, they just got an unlucky break. When it went caution with them leading, the other guys dived in. They lost track position. Angelelli was in a hurry to get through the pack, had contact, got the penalty. So that was one that got away from them. Look at this tightening up.
Yeah, this is going to be good with just under 4 minutes to go. You know, the gloves are off now. We can see what we got. That 70 car has been slow for a while, guys. I'll put that out of my mind. It's not going to bring out a caution this late in the race. It's still running.
You see the different lines, Tommy, with that Ferrari and the Camaro. Do you think he's just weighing him up? Is there anywhere around this racetrack he can take advantage of him?
Well, it's pretty tough. Look, he got more curb on the entrance to that S than before, but what he's doing is he's really arcing in late to try to just not put as little turn in the car on the exit as he can. These new driving rules will protect him a little bit. But
you know, we're hearing the 70 car is slow because it's out of fuel. They're asking him to go park that in a safe spot so they don't have to deal with him.
remember where that Ferrari took the lead on the prior stint. You know, where you can't, it's hard to defend getting into that corner. Again, he'll have less weight on the rear of his tires. His car theoretically should be a little bit more tail happy than the Ferrari under braking. So that'd be the place I'd be looking to try to stay close into that last corner.
Yeah, you have to wonder if Balzan has got it figured out and he knows where he's going to make his move, and he's just not showing his hand yet. But Liddell's a canny driver. He's got so much experience, as Mike Johnson said. Mike Johnson's got total belief on him. This is where he really waits really late to get that turn-in done, so he can free up the wheel coming off.
That's the place I see the move being made, right in that corner, because the Ferrari's pretty good at gathering up some ground right there. And of course, Robbins, like you said, he's straightening up the exit as much as he can, not to light the rear tires up.
Less than 2.5 minutes to go.
And he slams across those curbs, and Camaro's set up pretty nice. It's taking that abuse.
Watch how much curb he uses in this next left-right and the whole rest of the lap.
As we mentioned earlier, they're able to run this Camaro an inch lower than last year, so they had to really work on their shock package to still be able to ride the curbs, which has always been one of its strengths.
He's closest he's been, guys. I mean, he's right there.
He's close coming into that last corner.
He's heating up at the front as well. Angelelli across the stripe, just on a second. A second .031 is the gap between, Gurney gets hurt there, getting around that Mazda up into turn 3.
Had to do it.
Cost him a few tenths.
He had no choice. He had to make that pass to the outside, because if he had lifted and stayed behind it, he had no momentum. We're going to have one to go next time by, I think, guys.
The 01 caught Balzan right where he would want to maybe be trying to make that move. We didn't see whether he was close enough or not.
Pruitt is fourth. Still a good point-scoring day, coming off the win at Daytona, a podium at Circuit of the Americas. Another strong top 5 is what you have to do week in and week out.
And with those front 2 running that hard, that's not over with either, you know. If Gurney should be able to catch up.
The time limit will be expired when these guys get back to start finish, but not when the overall leader does. So this will be the second to last lap.
Yeah, Balzan should have this lap plus one more to try and wrestle this lead away from Liddell. We're here in the 9 car. They did run shy on fuel by just 1 minute, so they rolled the dice, and it has bitten them. They had to come down pit lane for a splash.
Ooh, somebody's been through here. Look at all the dirt on the racetrack. Somebody made a big mistake back there.
Liddell dealt with that really well.
Yes, he did. He saw it before he got to it. Otherwise, he'd probably had a big moment.
Let's get to Chris quickly.
Yeah, Calvin, you saw that 9 car come in for a splash. All these Daytona prototypes really stretching this. They were hoping for a caution, and all the teams right now telling their drivers, try and save a little fuel, but be ready to hit that reserve if you fuel that fuel bubble.
Well, you almost get to a point, guys, you want to hit the reserve rather than get the cough, right? I mean, if you're in a tight battle,
usually
look at this.
You only get 1 lap when you hit that reserve, so I mean, you want to push as far as you can. This is going to go really close to the wire now.
Liddell's not going to open the door there. You
No.
see how tight he ran.
1 more to go, bud. 1 more to go.
Ron Liddell isn't used to running up against this guy, Alessandro Balzan. He's done just a handful of races in the Grand Am Championship, and it's not like someone you race in against every single week. So he's got to figure this guy out. He's got him hounding him. What is he going to do? How aggressive will he be? But we get back to the race stewards directorship. He's probably realized he's not going to get too aggressive with me.
See Balzan pumping the brake pedal there like he's getting a soft pedal. I saw 2 or 3 brake light applications there like he was making sure he had some pedal before he committed that.
Bazzonia gets through without affecting either car.
So that dirty part of the racetrack. Here we come.
Bring it up, push to the line.
Max Angelelli in the number 10 machine.
Right, Max, very
He
tough
takes
goal.
victory
Great job.
for the first time with the Velocity Worldwide colors for Wayne Taylor and the group. What a great day for that team. And in GT, it's still on the line, boys.
Not over with yet. Balzan has not gotten any ground back yet. I think Robin really doing a good job of mirror driving and making that Camaro get off these corners straight.
It's almost like the Ferrari stumbled there.
Yeah, it could be a fuel issue. I saw the brake lights before. Might be having some difficulty.
Well, they scored 3 wins in 2012, but they won a championship. They need a win on the board. So Rob Liddell.
Great job, buddy. Great job. P1.
He comes to the stripe, his 19th Rolex GT victory. With he and John Edwards, a great performance by the whole group.
Well, they needed that. They really did. This team's been struggling. Here's our GX leader, Spencer Pumpelly, behind the wheel of the Porsche here. Looks to have things well in hand.
Even with all the action that car has seen, Mazda still working the bugs out. So
it did see a lot of action today.
And for Jim Norman, if Spencer can just get it to the stripe, he will still be undefeated, going 3 for 3 in the 3 opening rounds of this championship in the GX class. He's got that beautiful Daytona Rolex wristwatch, and more importantly, he's going to have the points lead here as Spencer can just get through these last couple of corners. Another good clean race from the BGB boys. Jim Norman, Spencer Pumpelly bring it home for the win in the GX class. Fantastic day of races, only 1 full caution period. Some great racing. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to our winners here today in Victory Lane at Barber Motorsports Park. Here we see some great shots from the museum here at Barber. And it was a great day of racing, guys. Certainly the crowds had some great viewing areas here. And here we see the unofficial results, the top 10 in DP.
Well, you know, finally the number 10 car, after being flawless in the pits and strategy-wise all year, finally get a W. Pruitt coming through with a solid run to solidify that points lead.
And in 5th, Yakimin. I mean, this is a new guy to us who's doing a really fine job. Good finish today.
Certainly a great run. Let's get down to Victory Lane with Chris Neville.
Yeah, we can see Max Angelelli getting out of the car, grabbing that checker flag, calling for his teammate down here. Max Angelelli has shared so many victories with Ricky Taylor. Now he gets to share it with a younger brother, Jordan Taylor. Max, what a great drive. You had the 99 behind you, but one thing I heard on the radio after the checker flag came down, you said, Simon, great call.
Yes, that was the team call, great strategy, and
Jordan. Obviously, he gave me the car in such a good position. I had to do nothing, just cruising around, going for marketplace. I mean, it was really good. The car was good. Jordan, as usual, delivered. And so finally won. Great.
Jordan, what a day for you. You get your first Daytona prototype win, and you get it for your pops. What's that feel like?
It's definitely cool. I mean, we knew we had a car strong enough to win Daytona and Austin, so it was just kind of a matter of time getting all the pieces in the right place, and everything kind of fell our way. We lost a bunch of track position, but we were able to come back through it, and guys had unbelievable stops. Max had a heck of a stint. He didn't have a dry lap all weekend until he got in the car, so can't complain too much. We're looking forward to the rest of the season.
Well, the team was perfect today. Congratulations, guys.
What a day for the Velocity Worldwide team. Meanwhile, in GT, it was Edwards and Liddell on top, boys. It was a great run.
You know, go down there in third place. Boris said Eric Kern in the Wheeling Corvette did a good run this time. This is a place that race car goes really well at.
Oh, Auburn and Lally battle never materialized.
Take a quick look at our Royal Purple outperformer of the race, and it goes to Robin Liddell in the number 57 machine for this move. Well, this was actually John Edwards behind the wheel when they took this off-course excursion. Didn't get any damage to the race car. Here we see another.
That's one of those yippee moments.
This is the yippee moment now. Rob Liddell crossing the stripe, and Greg Creamer's down in victory lane with the boys.
I am indeed, and that GT battle doesn't get much better than that. Robin, you had to deal with it, bringing it home at the end. And Mike Johnson made the comment. He thinks it was, along with just some talent, the experience of how to deal with overtaking faster cars and placing yourself and them right.
Yeah, I think I gained a little bit from some track experience here. Obviously, Alessandro has not been at some of these tracks, and I think I just knew where to position the car, and when the tires started to go off, I think I could cope with that a little bit better. He was a wee bit quicker at the end, and obviously we were under quite a bit of pressure, but generally speaking, I seemed to get the brakes, and where I was able to stop a DP going by and get a run out the corner and keep him between us, then I was able to do that. And he was looking very strong in the last section into the last couple of turns, and I fully expected him to have a lunge, but he made a wee mistake on the last lap, and he wasn't close enough to me. So all credit to the guys, though. I mean, the team did a wonderful job. I want to say hi to Shelley Stevenson. It's her 40th birthday. She's probably sitting at home with a drink. So happy birthday, Shelley. And, you know, in the end, the guys did a super job in the pits. And it was very, very tight on the way out because the 63 car came out the box. And I really thought we were going to make contact, but I just kept my foot in because I figured that would be the key to the race, which I think in the end it was. So great job by everybody. Thanks to Johnny and Susan and Chevrolet. And obviously John here did a super job.
Yeah, John obviously got pole, so you started from the front where you wanted to, and you guys were able to make it work.
Well, yeah, I had a pretty intense stint there because we chose to take tires and other people didn't. So we were a bit faster, but the tires were starting to go off as I was catching Jeff, who hadn't taken tires, and I didn't think I was going to get by him without a mistake or some traffic, so I saw an opportunity with traffic and took it. Ended up going sailing off the road, so I hope I didn't give the team a heart attack doing that, but we ended up hitting behind Jeff and came out ahead, so full credit to the Stevenson crew. The tire change, you know, that we weren't waiting on fuel for that stop, so the guys with the tires and Robin and Mike with the driver change really deserve a lot of credit for taking that spot, because if we had come out behind Alessandro, then I don't think that we would have had a shot getting by him.
All right, the crew helping out as much as these great drivers. Let's check in with Chris.
Well, Alex Gurney and John Fogerty were first in Texas, second place here in Alabama. You guys had a great car today, but the 10 car just a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, they had a trouble-free race, and at least for me, it was pretty uneventful, just trying to chase down Max, and seemed like I could gain on him a little bit when the traffic was out of the way, and it stayed between about 3 seconds back and forth, and just tough race. Max did an awesome job, and hats off to those guys, and but a good points day for us.
Yeah, great points day for the 99.
It certainly was. They back up that win at Circuit of the Americas with another podium finish here. Dorsey, you said they have the momentum. Are they really a threat for the championship this year?
Yeah, I think they are for sure. But, you can't count anybody out. It's early in the season still. We just saw something you don't see very often. That was a perfectly executed race by the 10 guys. Their strategy was perfect. Their pit stops were perfect. The drivers did their job.
And Tom, you can see GT point standings is tight there. A lot of guys within a handful of points.
And early days still, so it's kind of like a fresh season getting underway. Nobody with a big advantage up front.
Okay, guys, a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, everyone. For Dorsey Schrader, Tommy Kendall, Chris Neville, and Greg Creamer, I'm Calvin Fish, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks from Road Atlanta.